Jake here for American Trucks, and in this video we're taking a look at the Diablo Sport InTune i3 Platinum tuner fitting 1999 to 2016 4.8 liter Silverado 1500s. Now this one is going to appeal to the 4.8 Silverado owner who's looking for an all-inclusive, easy to install tuning kit. It's going to give a performance improvement with lots of flexibility and features. Now this little setup here features everything you need to get a tune onto your truck with no fuss at a pretty reasonable price. Before we get into the nitty-gritty though, let's talk about numbers. Now we ran our 2013 4.8 liter Silverado 1500 that you see behind me on the in-house dyno to see what we could get. Our truck does run 93 octane fuel, and we performed all of our runs in second gear. That way we could get a clean pull all the way to redline without hitting our dyno's speed limiter. That said, in stock form, the truck laid down 242 horsepower at 5,300 RPMs and 262 pound-feet of torque at 4,600 RPM. Now, after uploading the Diablo tune from the InTune i3, we ran the truck again and saw 255 horsepower at 5,500 RPM and 269 pound-feet of torque at 4,300 RPM. That makes for peak gains of 13 horsepower and 7 pound-feet of torque, which is not bad at all for a preloaded tune on an otherwise stock vehicle. Now, if you take a look at the graph though, you'll notice something interesting. This tune eliminated the dip in power and torque in the mid-range, which we were seeing in all of our stock runs. And that made the truck feel a bit stronger overall, and it gave us some good curve gains as well, of about 24 horsepower and 30 pound-feet of torque, right around that 4,100 RPM mark, right in the middle of the rev band. Now we also saw some gains down low around the 1,500 RPM mark, and the overall curves are smoother than stock. Around 3,000 RPM, we really started to see the difference though, and those gains continued all the way up to redline. So while it's not a huge power gain overall, for a smaller displacement naturally aspirated V8, that's a pretty good showing. Now, all that being said, don't let the size fool you, because this little module does have quite a bit of firepower behind it. The InTune i3 Platinum comes preloaded with tunes that are all dyno tested and street proven by Diablo Sport to ensure that you're going to see improved power and drivability without sacrifice. They even have a little prompt at the beginning that says, yes, you're going to get some more power and torque, but it's also not going to kill your fuel economy. So when you do go to program the tune, you're going to get asked a few questions regarding what octane fuel you plan to use. Now you can do these preset, or you can go through and modify a bunch of different parameters as well. So if you've changed the tire size versus stock, the module will give you tunes based on how you answer those questions. You can also go through and remove things like the speed limiter, you can adjust the rev limiter, disable active fuel management, you can control your cooling fan temperature setting, you can adjust timing, fueling, and you can also again calibrate the speedometer and odometer to accommodate larger wheels and tires, or even a different rear end gear ratio. And you get a bunch of different options to change up your transmission's behavior as well, since this allows you to tune the transmission control module while you load the engine tune, which is something we don't always see. So you can firm up the shifts, you can change the shift points at either wide open throttle or partial throttle, and you can remove the skip shift function as well. There's a couple of other things that you can do too. You'll want to play around with those features when you get into it, but it's an impressive set of parameters that you can modify both for the transmission and the engine. And again, the ability to change up transmission settings is not something we see with every tuner, especially not one that comes preloaded like this. This is also going to save your stock tune, so if you do need to revert back to OEM spec at any point, you can do that very easily. Speaking of easy, this also has the ability to receive updates via Wi-Fi in addition to using your Mac or Windows PC as well. But there is still more to come. This unit also allows for data logging, so you can check on different engine parameters to see how everything is performing, and you can download those logs onto your computer via Diablo Sport's Data Viewer software to view and analyze different pieces of information. Now the tuner can also read and clear diagnostic trouble codes, so if you do happen to get a check engine light, you can just use this to read the codes and clear them off the engine computer right in your driveway and save yourself a trip to the shop. Now construction-wise, there's not a whole heck of a lot to talk about here, but it is worth touching on. This whole thing is controlled by a touchscreen, and it has a pretty good resolution. It's also easy to use and easy to navigate, even for those of us with less than stellar vision. The buttons on there are pretty easy, and it's just a quick touch and you're ready to go. It also comes with the OBD2 cable already wired in, making setup even a bit easier for you, but we'll talk more about that in a moment. Price-wise, this is going to run you around $475, and let's not pull any punches. For all you're getting here, that's a pretty darn good deal. The flexibility of the tuning module alone is great, but you also keep the ability to easily revert the truck back to stock by itself. You can modify a bunch of different parameters in the truck, and with all the features and the ease of installing use, I really think you're getting an excellent value. And speaking of install, this one is going to get a 1 out of 3 on our difficulty meter, and it should only take you about 30 minutes to get it installed and have your truck back up and running. This again is a simple plug and play operation. It just plugs right into your OBD2 port underneath the dash. You will want to spend a little bit of time getting the unit updated with the included USB cable, but again, that's a pretty quick process too. You're likely going to spend much more time messing around with the system and getting things set up exactly the way you want it. But actual installation is quite simple, something you can do at home easily in your driveway. With that said, let's hop on over to the truck and we'll show you how to do it. All right, everyone, now we are here inside of our 2013 Silverado with the 4.8, and we're gonna install the Diablo Sport Tuner. Now, a couple things to note before we get started here. First and foremost, when you take this out of the box, even if it is sealed up and brand new, you wanna make sure you go on and update this. Now, there is a USB cable included in the kit. You can just plug it right into your computer, download the software from Diablo Sport's website, and make sure this is nice and updated for you. Next, you also want to make sure that your battery is in good condition before you start this process. Since the truck is going to be relying completely on battery power the entire time, and this does take a little bit of time to load up the tune, it is worth making sure that your battery is in good condition. We have ours plugged into a battery tender just to be on the safe side. If you've got one of those, I highly recommend doing that. So with that said, everything is pretty much ready to go for you here once you've got it updated. The OBD2 cable is already included, so we're just going to plug this in underneath the dashboard to the OBD2 port. All right, so we're going to take our OBD2 cable and plug it in underneath the dashboard. It's going to go just like this. Should click right in pretty easily. Now that we have the Intune i3 plugged into our truck, we're going to get prompted with this. This will come up every time you plug it in, so don't worry about it. You are just going to have to hit yes to agree here and move forward. Now we get to the main menu. There's a couple of things that we can do here, but we're going to start with tuning the vehicle. So if we touch that, it will bring us to the next scene, and it'll tell us to put the key in the run position without starting the engine. Now I've already done that. As you might be able to see, our dashboard is lit up here. So we'll hit continue. And now we see two different choices we can make here. We have Easy Tune or we have Advanced Tune. Now Easy Tune, if you go in here, it's just going to allow you to select one of a few tunes based on the octane or one that's going to boost your miles per gallon. Now, that won't give you quite as many options. If you want to actually change some other stuff while you do this, you want to go to Advanced Tune. So we'll select that for our purposes today and go through the menu this way. Now, this one is where you can install custom tunes if you do upload them to your truck, or you can modify parameters. But for right now, we go to install a tune first. So we're going to hit Install Standard Tune. And you can see there's a handful of different things down here. Now you can do a couple of different things. You can modify your stock tune, so if you just want to change some parameters, which we'll talk about when we get into those menus, such as how the transmission shifts or some other things like that, you can do that and it won't mess with the engine computer itself. You've got your MPG booster tune, that's the one that we also saw in that last menu, our 87 octane tune. We can also skip this completely, and we have our Diablo tune. Now that's the one that we're going to do today. And every time you select that, you're going to get prompted with this. It is designed to add power and torque, but it's not going to kill your fuel economy. So your mileage may vary depending on what you've got done to your truck and how you drive it, but this prompt is going to come up every time. So if you're going to say yes to select that one, and then it's also going to prompt us to select a transmission tune. So again, we'll have to hit Install Standard Tune and we'll select from one of the options here. Now again, you can skip this control unit completely, you can modify your stock one, or you can pick one of these two. Now I happen to like the firm shift tune because the 4L60 in this truck are a little sluggish when they ship. So let's do that one. We'll hit yes on this. Now again, as you go through this, you can make selections depending on what you want to do. From here, it's going to go ahead and save some backups for you. So it will save a backup of both your transmission control module and your engine control module, so you can revert everything back to stock, which we'll talk about once we've got this tune loaded up. So we'll hit yes here to continue. Now it's also important, once we start this process, don't touch anything. Your truck's not going to be able to move until it is completely done. So make sure you've got it parked in a place where you can leave it until this process is complete. Now, actually getting this loaded up won't take very long. As you can see, it moves pretty quick. It is going to have to go through a couple of screens because, again, it will save your original and then it will load the new one up. You'll probably spend more time messing around with the different options, which I'll show you once we get to that point in a minute, than you will actually loading this up. But again, you just want to make sure that your truck is in a place where you can leave it and your battery is either hooked up on tender or a charger, or you've got good battery health. Now, while this process is happening, you might be noticing in the background the lights are flicking on and off on the dashboard. There's some relays and things clicking underneath of the hood as well. All of that is perfectly normal. Don't worry about it. Don't sweat it. It will all be okay in the very end, I promise. All right, now here we see it is reading and saving the original backup tune for the transmission control module. So again, this will help us be able to revert it back to stock at some point, should we need to do that. And again, here's some stuff clicking under the hood. Totally normal. Just let it do its thing. All right, now we get to this fun screen. Now you can do a couple of things here. Down on the bottom, you'll see backup only. That's just gonna save your stock tune. It's not going to apply anything different to the truck. Now, we can also apply the tune as it is, or we can go in and modify some parameters. So let's go in here. I'll show you what you can do, because there's actually quite a few different options that you can change. Now in this menu, you can select the engine control module or the transmission control module. We'll start up here with the engine control module first, and you see there's a bunch of different things you can change. So the first one, CAGS, that is actually the skip shift feature. Now it's not as imperative on a 4-speed like on this truck, but if you want to turn that off, it will save the transmission from going, say, first to third or first to fourth in the name of fuel economy. Now, just like most of these other things, you'll see the menus look pretty similar. You can just select that on or off. And you see ours is on because we're going to leave everything else for the most part stock. So we'll go back. Here you have your DOD or AFM calibration. This is your cylinder deactivation. If you want to permanently disable this, you can do that here. Fan control. Basically, this allows you to change when the fan turns on for the truck. So if you want it to come on, have the engine run a little bit cooler. If you want to let it get a little more heat in it, you can change that up down here. It gives you the degrees in Fahrenheit. Idle calibration, you can change the idle speed in both drive and park or neutral. So you can change it by a number of RPM. So if you want it to idle a little bit higher in drive, or you want it to idle a little bit lower, get a little bit of lope going on, you can do that as well. Again, we're leaving everything pretty much stock on this. Scrolling down, you've got some other things you can change. Now, these are getting into more advanced parameters, such as injector calibration, your power enrichment, things like that. Injector slope, if you want to change any of the injectors, I wouldn't recommend doing that on a completely stock engine, but if you've got other stuff going on under the hood, that's something you might want to be able to mess with. Power enrichment tool, this is talking about wide open throttle fueling between different RPM ranges. So between 2 and 3.8K, 4 to 4.9, and then 5 all the way up to redline. Now you have your rev limiter in gear and your vehicle speed limiter here that you can change as well. So if you want to eliminate that, because these trucks do have a pretty hard limiter on them, you can change that as well. We're not even going to hit it today, so we're not worried about that. You can also change your rev limiter in gear if you would like. And then scrolling back down again, you've got your spark calibration. So again, this is something that's a little bit more advanced. I wouldn't be changing this on a completely otherwise stock engine, but if you've got some other stuff going on, you're running colder temp spark plugs or something like that, you can change this. And then your speed calibration, this is where you would go to change your axle ratio or tire size to correct your speedometer and odometer. So our truck currently, for our purposes on the dyno, is running its factory wheels and tires, and the axle ratio is the factory one as well. You can see it's a 342. Now we're not going to change that, obviously. And we're running our stock tire size too, so we'll just leave that as well. So all that said, you can leave these as it is. You can also click this really quickly to revert everything back to the original parameters. Now we're going to go back and we're going to select our TCM, or transmission control module. Now this is where you can really get into the nitty-gritty of how the transmission shifts, which again is something you might want to adjust on something like this 4L60 in our truck. So you have your pressures in normal or sport and tow mode, your shift RPM, so you can change when the transmission shifts, the 1, 2, 2, 3, and 3, 4 shifts. Again, you've got your pressures as well under part throttle or wide open throttle. So if you want it to be a little bit more firm, a little more positive, you can change them, and you can change it depending on which gear change you want to address. And you have your torque management as well, if you want to increase or reduce the torque reduction in any gear in either normal mode or your Sport and Tow mode. Again, we're not going to change anything. We're just going to apply that transmission tune as it is. So if you're satisfied with all that, we'll just go ahead and hit back, and then we can click up here on Apply Tune. And now this is going to write the tune to both the engine control module and the transmission control module. So just like when it was saving our stock tune, it's very important here. Do not touch anything. Don't plug anything in or anything like that. Make sure you've got enough battery life to get you through this. Now you can see it's applying our firm shift tune to the transmission control module. And again, just like when it was saving our factory settings, you may see some things clicking on and off. You might hear some things clicking or whirring under the hood. Don't worry about it. It will be fine in the end. All right, now our tuning is complete. So at this point, you can just unplug it if you want to set it aside, but we're gonna reboot this really quick because I want to show you a couple other features of the Intune i3. So we'll give it a minute while this reboots. All right, now you might recognize this from before. We're back to our main menu. So we'll have to hit yes here. And now we can go and do a couple of things. Before we dive into the scan tool function, I want to go back to Tune Vehicle. Again, it'll ask you to make sure the key is in the run position. So we'll hit continue. And that's going to bring us to our Tune Vehicle menu. So again, you see your Easy and Advanced Tune, and this one is now highlighted Restore Backup. So if you want to reset your truck to stock, this is what you're going to press, and it will restore the stock calibration that was saved on here. So right now, we're going to go back to our main menu, and we're going to click into the Scan Tool function. So this is where you would go if you do happen to get a check engine light or anything like that. So we can scan the truck for trouble codes. As you see, we've got none right there, which is great news. So we go back. If we had any and wanted to clear them, you could do that right in here. You also have the data logging function here available as well. So here we have our data logging screen. Now, as you can see, you can start recording from here. You can add or delete different information displays, or you can restore the defaults. So for our purposes, let's add some. So if you go down here, you can see all the different groups that you can select. So let's go up and we'll start with intake. So you can see there's a bunch of different things. Calculated lows, your mass airflow sensor rate, barometric pressure, all kinds of different things. Oxygen sensors, fuel injector pulse. We've got all kinds of different things here that you can select from. So you can pick any of these that you want. Now this is important if you want to take advantage of the custom tuning option that you have here via Diablo Sport and this little tuner, because saving all this information can be very helpful. So let's go down here. We'll select one more. So from there, if you want to hit record and save any of your dyno runs or drives or anything like that, that can be super helpful if you're going to take advantage of the custom tuning option, because you can load custom tunes on here. For now, we're going to go back to our main menu, and we'll take a look quickly at settings. So you can add Wi-Fi to this. You can also change some sound and display options if you want to do that. And again, this is just messing around with the settings on the unit. One other thing that is worth noting though is that up in the corner here, you've noticed this little devil-shaped question mark. If you touch that, this is just a quick help menu. So if you're confused about anything, or if you want a little extra explanation about it, you can add that here. The camera's beeping, isn't it? So again, you can go to Wi-Fi configuration. You have some other advanced options if you want to check for updates over the air. You got your tech support menu. Again, if you want to add Wi-Fi or mess around with that. You can also, again, update this via the computer using the included USB cable. That's going to wrap it up here for our review, install, and dyno test of the Diablo Sport Intune i3 Platinum Tuner for 1999 to 2016 4.8-liter Silverado 1500s. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, for all things Silverado, be sure to keep it right here at AmericanTrucks.com.